Hello everyone and welcome to the What Culture main channel. My name is Jules Gill and joined on this lovely grey Saturday morning, it is Scott Tailford, the real superhero of the What Culture writing team, because honestly, nothing gets past his eyes.
We're all the Avengers, mate. It's all good.
Yeah, but we're the Penvengers.
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
Nope. Anyway, there is some news to talk about, and it is Avengers adjacent because we are talking about the MCU as a whole today. Now, this is the thing. I, like a few other people, have got a bit of franchise fatigue. I absolutely adored Endgame, but now it's kind of like the day after Christmas. You've eaten all the turkey, you've got a big Brussels sprouts belly, and it is just time to poop it all out because you don't want to eat any more sort of stuff.
And then in Halo, someone's coming in with a big tray.
Yeah, I know.
Do you want it again?
Your gran's in with the after eights and all of the bowls of Twiglets, and she's popped it down and she's like, eat more.
Keep eating.
And the reason this metaphor is relevant is because there has been 5 more confirmed projects.
Oh,
I know there's tons more, but we
Yes.
now have dates of
Yes.
when they might be released. We don't know exactly what films they are, but Scott is going to walk you through the final
So
details.
this thing comes from Deadline, who reported that there are 5 dates confirmed as to when we're getting the next 5 MCU movies, and then we can break down which movies they might be. But the dates that are broken are October 7th, 2022, so at least it's a little ways from now.
That's true.
In terms of the future kind of stuff. February 17th, 2023, May 5th, 2023, July 28th, 2023, and November 3rd, 2023. Do you want 4 movies in 1 year? Because you're getting it.
No.
So in regards to things that could be in those slots, there's a bunch of movies that are already in pre-production. We've got Ant-Man 3, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Blade, and Deadpool 3. I think one of those will be the 2022
Yes.
one. Assumedly Guardians, because I think, well, it's weird, because I think that the way that all of the stuff shook out with Guardians, James Gunn needs to get the Suicide Squad reboot out the way
Yeah,
if they're
because
still doing it.
Yeah.
And then go back to Guardians again, but at least the cast came back together and said that they were all up for it, and James Gunn did get signed back on again.
They have said that they're not too fussed about the overall timeline for the MCU because of the fact that you can take these films out separately, they'll all come out different, and as long as you can slot them back into order, you'll be able to make sense of it. So Guardians of the Galaxy 3 probably makes the most sense in terms of what is a direct, almost semi-sequel to Endgame, because we had plot threads that were introduced at the end of that do need resolving in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But what might be a good thing for them to do would be to put Blade in that position, because it's a good way to A, introduce a new character, and B, it's like a completely different tone that would come from it.
True, I'm so curious what they're doing with Blade.
Blade is dark as hell.
Yeah,
like, if you look at any of his sort of like storylines, it's never fun.
It depends what they do. I love that they cast Mahershala. I think he's a brilliant stand-in for Wesley Snipes. And I'm curious what they do, because Blade doesn't really interface with that many other major characters.
But that's why it could be a good sort of like palate cleanser, like the sorbet that comes in and you go, ooh, that was very nice.
I guess we'll see. I mentioned Deadpool 3 because I was just wrapping up all the different superhero movies. Deadpool's obviously not part of the MCU yet, but I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yes.
Kind of part of the whole Fox acquisition type thing, and they've talked about the idea of Deadpool crossing over, so maybe.
As soon as he comes in, would that mean that the term sort of mutant and all this other stuff comes with it?
Who even knows at this point?
Because as soon as he's introduced, that's like, oh, the X-Men exist.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's another thing I've got written down is that we have the reboots of the X-Men and the Fantastic Four to factor into this as well. I wonder if they'll turn it around in the next 3 years for that. Part of me thinks that they'll get this next phase out the way with everything else that's already announced. In fact, let's run down what's already announced alongside.
Sure.
Because the ones that I just mentioned are in pre-production in terms of having like directors attached and things like that. But this is where there's a lot. Because we then have the Black Widow movie, Black Panther 2, The Eternals, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which is the whole thing with the Mandarin being being recast, the dude that was in Iron Man 3, but the real Mandarin this time, Shang-Chi.
My name is Trevor! Trevor Slattery, best
Mr.
character.
Slattery's sadly not coming back.
No.
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness with Scarlet Witch. Untitled Spider-Man sequel.
Ooh, that's what it should be called.
I'd love it if
Like
they went.
Untitled Goose Game.
It works for Goose Game.
Untitled Spider-Man sequel.
And the last thing is Thor Love and Thunder, which is the one with Natalie Portman.
What a great name.
Coming back. I know, and it's directed by Taika Waititi and everything else.
It's going to be good.
Which I guess does have an attached director. But whatever. So those little bank of other movies are ones that have got like title cards and things like that. Things that we know are coming but haven't been slotted in yet. Maybe like more of a dead cert than the ones that are more nebulous, like the ones I mentioned before. I mean, of them, I think something like Thor Love and Thunder, just considering the way that Ragnarok was received, would fit nicely in a 2022 slot.
I feel as well, again, it's a lovely sort of action comedy movie that could be very good for raising the sort of dour nature that was towards the end of Endgame.
One other thing I was going to mention is that with all of them, I think all of them will get out the way. I think that'll make up the bulk of Phase 4, and something like the reboot of the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, that'll be the thing, especially on the X-Men side, that'll be the thing that cures their franchise fatigue this time in another 10 years, or whatever.
The one thing, just going back to Deadpool 3, I was just thinking, like, the amount of like fourth wall breaks that he does in those films, I'm actually kind of like, my brain can't really wrap its head around how that's going to work when he's part of the MCU as a whole, because it works in isolation because it's not actually interacting. But imagine going up to like, say, like, you go up to Captain America and be like, I remember when you were the Human Torch. You know what I mean? Like
that would be great.
That would be great. But at the same time, that tone doesn't seem to fit within the Avengers.
I don't know. I think because of how elastic the MCU is now, they can probably do it.
The only way they could possibly introduce it is if they go up to like Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is like, I know what you experienced. I see all these other timelines where there's actually like real people who aren't actors and stuff like that. That would make sense because they need to anchor it. You know what I mean?
One of the coolest things they do with Deadpool at the end of Deadpool 2 is when they go through Ryan Reynolds' career and they like dip into him when he's being Green Lantern and things like that. I love the idea of that stuff. I think like I said, considering how something like Ragnarok kind of proved that you can do like an all-out, really over the top, like like neon powder colored comedy. I think that they've kind of shown that they can do whatever the hell they want. And Doctor Strange was like ridiculous as well. All these weird kaleidoscopic visuals and everything.
So looking forward for more of those like Mandela effect style things, because like watching that film was just kind of like, whoa, am I high?
I know. Another thing that I haven't, well, two more things that are big deals is Captain Marvel 2 at some point, and Brie Larson's already attached to that, so we know that we're getting a Captain Marvel 2. Captain Marvel made an absolute bank at the box office, and the next Avengers movie. So assumedly the Avengers movie, I looked at the timeline for all the other Avengers movies. Like Avengers 1 was 2012, we then had the Age of Ultron in 2015, then there was Captain America Civil War, which I know isn't really an Avengers movie, but the whole cast was in it, in 2016, then there was Infinity War in 2018, and then there was Endgame this year in 2019. So they're pretty consistent, but like at the most there was a 3-year gap. So that kind of ends up, that gives you a 2022, 2023 style.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So before that we need to have the Black Widow needs to have her film.
I think the Black Widow one, but she's dead in the timeline, so I'm like, I don't know what you do. I mean, that's a weird quandary in regards to what you do with Black Widow anyway.
No, you could do, if you were going timeline-wise, you'd do Doctor Strange and then you'd do Black Widow, because then you could have time travel affecting that.
Maybe. I think something like, because Captain Marvel is very much pegged as the next like leader of the Avengers. With Captain America out of the picture now, like you need a new leader, and assuming that'll be her. Black Panther would obviously take a bigger role, considering Ryan Coogler's sequel for that. It's weird because I think that you need a good handful of movies, like new movies, like kind of thing with new characters.
You need the setup for the next
then
one.
be able to even do like a fifth Avengers.
It would be like your brain wouldn't be able to comprehend it if it was just something like the next big film is out. It's going to be the new team. You're like, wait, this doesn't make sense. We need to have that. There was a term that came up, and it's called proving grounds. Even though these actors have definitely like nailed their roles, they need to have a standalone adventure so that it's kind of like I'm going to use the reference to like the WWE. It's like you need to have like a few matches, like squash matches almost, to like build yourself up in the eyes of the public so that you seem like a credible threat when a new challenger arises.
Well, they're in a weird spot in terms of the overall MCU, the perception of the MCU, because like we talked a bit before about like it's been 10 years of this stuff now.
It's quite tiring.
And it's weird because for me, Endgame was so perfect that like it was such a good stepping off point. If you were done with this particular roller coaster, not to quote Scorsese, but it is, in terms of like this big fun theme park thing, you can sort of step away and go, okay, I've had a great 10 years, I've had a great ride, and I'm stepping off because my main characters are retired or dead. And I think that the way that they went, for me, when I came out of Endgame, I felt so satisfied. I didn't need more, I'll take it, but I don't need it. And so they're in a weird spot now.
That's the thing. Like, I'm not saying that I'm lapsing from the franchise at all. Like, I will obviously watch any film that comes out because I think that it's great, the story that they're like moving forward in the giant narrative. But they will need to try harder from this point on to capture me. And that may have a knock-on effect to how our stories are told. If you look back at a lot of the early films, obviously origin stories, they follow a similar path. You know, hero comes in, hero experiences extreme change, evil to overcome, beaten, hello, I am such and such. Now we're into the difficult second album territory, because even like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and the ones that have had sequels, they told stories, but they were still developing the character to be ready for this. This now is uncharted territory for every single person.
And like you said, in terms of sequels, most of the MCU sequels are bad. Like Winter Soldier is demonstrably better than the first Cap.
Oh, it is amazing.
Thor 2, Iron Man 2, like most of them don't tend to work second time around.
So now take all of that, and then as a collective, what's the second stage going to be?
And I also wonder what the hell they're doing. Like all the weird stuff with Spider-Man as well. They had all those weird contractual fallouts.
Oh yeah, he's out, he's in.
Yeah, he's back in now. But then it was like, what, like in terms of how integral can he be to the future of the MCU when Sony ultimately are going to want him back again? So it's kind of weird. But in terms of the dates that we have, like we have one movie for 2022 and then 4 for 2023.
That's good. There's got to be something big happening.
Yeah.
Like the next Avengers film has to be in 2023 then, because it'll be the lead up to something. It'll be like a 4-act structure within a year.
Yeah, and I think that it's weird because like even all the way back to the very first Avengers, after the credits, we got the first tease of Thanos. Like obviously different design than the one that they went with, but they seeded it.
Yeah.
And that then became the big through line thing that we chased across the second half of the MCU, the first chapter of the MCU.
Yep.
So I think with this, they need to put something up there, like a Galactus or a Doctor Doom or whatever, and just let that be the overarching thing that we're building towards. It needs that momentum again.
It is tough to try and now look at any villain with a sense of credibility after you've just had a guy who literally wiped out half of all
and succeeded doing it as well.
Like how do you do that unless you have somebody go in there and just start killing heroes left, right, and center?
The thing is, I don't think they can do. I think they will do Galactus eventually, but I think he's too like over the top. This big planet-eating thing is too stupid and like for a mainstream audience.
We end up going into Dragon Ball Z territory because we go like, here's your person, power level has increased, now it's like this, and now we get all the different colors, and it's like Rose, and then it's this, and then it's just kind of like it doesn't matter. It becomes meaningless. You basically have put these numbers on there and say that they are even more powerful, but then you just need another person to do that, and it's
that's a problem that a lot of like comic book arcs and anime and stuff has in general, where it's just sort of like, okay, big stupidly powerful villain. Oh my god, the heroes can't possibly get this powerful. Okay, they do. Next thing, well, this person's even more powerful. They can't possibly get it, and it just repeats over and over again. I do think that if they grounded it and bring in Doctor Doom and really do like a really good story with Victor Von Doom, and like you ground his motivations, you give him this really like twisted psyche, and you make him. Everyone needs to love to hate him the same way they did with Loki, and you can make him a really fun and enigmatic villain.
They should do a twin sort of like a spearhead thing and have Doctor Doom collecting together all of the sort of like wackier sort of villains, and they can sort of be like not a B tier list, but they can be the ones that represent the sort of like classic over the top Saturday morning cartoon villain. And on the other side, I believe that they should start introducing more Norman Osborn and get him to be go down the presidential arc where he takes over and he basically controls S.H.I.E.L.D. and he starts disseminating it from the inside, and then he introduces the Dark Avengers and stuff like that. That's how they should build the next one.
Another idea I just
because who can beat the Avengers?
Other
Avengers.
That's the thing. If they do something with, I would love it if they bring in Doctor Doom, but don't do the Fantastic Four yet. You bring in Doctor Doom, you give him some agency, you let him get away with a bunch of stuff, make him a massive threat.
Kind of like Blofeld from James Bond.
Yes,
like have him succeed.
Yeah,
win
have
a
him
few.
succeed.
Yeah.
I mean, like the MCU's kind of proven that they will let villains succeed for a while. Like you can step away and be like, well, it's always going to be okay in the end. Welcome to comics. But at the same time, if they let Doctor Doom have a bit of agency, get away with some stuff, be a big credible villain, then you do your big like Endgame style final save where the Fantastic Four form at the end of near the end of that movie, save the day, and then we take another break and you go into the next phase with the Fantastic Four. That will be my shout.
Like that.
But they need time to space all those things out. And then there's the X-Men alongside that as well.
The X-Men are a perfect example of where you could do the misunderstood hero story arc, where you bring them in as villains, but they're just misunderstood as in they don't understand why like they're being attacked or persecuted, and they rise against it. So it's like you get a figurehead in the form of, I don't know, Doctor Doom, Magneto, whoever wants to jump on that, and then they lead a mutant army versus the Avengers, and then you get that whole build up in that sense.
I mean,
there's so much potential. They have almost too much to do.
It's ludicrous.
And you know what? I'm knackered now just thinking about the different things. But there we go. There are five confirmed new dates for the next 5 MCU films. Let us know down below which you think would make the most sense in terms of structuring and building, as well as any other sort of fan theories as well, because we'd love to hear them from you. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me at RetroJ with a 0 over on Twitter, and Scott
@/LP89.
You are damn right you can. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you have a fantastic day, whatever you're getting up to. We'll speak to you soon.
Bye.